Hey guys, here we go into round two of Gary Russell Jr. versus Vasily Lomachenko in preparation for Lomachenko versus Guillermo Rigondeaux on December 12th, I believe. All rights to the video clips used in this video belong to Showtime. My use of them is not to undermine their copyright or their ownership of them, but to give a unique and new understanding of what we're watching. My use of this video is protected under the Fair Use Act for commentary, criticism, and educational purposes. And some talking shit, you know what I'm saying? But we're going to go ahead and get into the round. And the first thing I want to talk about before we get into the round, this is probably going to take like 2 minutes. I'm super sorry. Just skip to like 3 minutes if you want to listen to me talk about bullshit. I'll try to keep it quick if you do. But I was talking to someone in the comment section of the last video about probing and the kind of feinting that Lomachenko uses. And the reason that you do that is to get your opponent to commit to a punch or to commit to a defensive posture or a movement so that you can find a way to get them out of position, right? Because when they're in their regular boxing stance, every fighter is ready to throw any punch, right? And what you want to do is you want to use those feints and make them think that you're going to do something, make them think that you're going to do A, and then they counter A, but you really didn't commit to it, right? You're not out of position yourself, right? Especially when you're using just a probing jab and you just stick your left hand out there just a little bit, boom. You're not committed to it like it's a punch because you're just probing. You're just basically putting your arm out there and you're still perfectly able to turn it into a left hook or turn it into a right hand or turn it into a pivot or do anything. But what you do is you get your opponent to commit to a defensive posture or an offensive reaction, right? A counter punch, what they think is a counter punch, and then you just counter whatever they do, right? So you're kind of being an aggressive counter puncher in that regard. And I was talking to him, and the guy said that if Lomachenko uses strategies like that against Guillermo Rigondeaux, he's going to lose, you know, and I think actually the opposite is true. I think that if Lomachenko doesn't use the feints and doesn't use the probes, Guillermo Rigondeaux is going to kick his butt, you know, and that's not necessarily true. He still has a great chance to beat Rigondeaux without them, without using the probes and without, you know, baiting him out of position. But it would be a much closer fight in that regard. And I think that him using those techniques is paramount to him beating him by a wide margin. Anyway, perfect. 3 minutes. So we're going to look, and I'm going to try to find some examples of the feinting and the probing because they're so important, especially against a fighter as fast as Gary Russell Jr. and Guillermo Rigondeaux. And Rigondeaux has some fucking pop, man. That boy can punch. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and get into this round. And look for instances of him feinting or probing, looking for reactions. Oh, and another important facet about that is when your opponent doesn't react to your feints and your probes, that's when you just punch them in the face. You know, you just hit them. You're like, ha, gotcha. So right away, Gary Russell Jr. comes out, tries to establish the distance between them, tries to control that distance, right? If he can keep his arm in that area and keep Lomachenko guessing, right? He can stop him from using this little technique where he slips on the inside, right? He can stop him from doing that if he has control of the distance, because then Lomachenko will be worried about that shot, about that. But if he doesn't, Lomachenko is going to be able to do that, right? And this is what I mean. You're feinting, you're probing, and this is kind of a probing little step from him, and Gary Russell Jr. doesn't react in any way and just almost eats 2 jabs. You know, he does move his head out of the way a little bit, you know, and he doesn't actually look like they land clean, right? But that's not the point. It's the fact that he was able to set it up by baiting Gary Russell Jr., and then Gary Russell Jr. doesn't react. Anyway, moving on. Now, this is really interesting, too, right? It doesn't look like anything, right? But as soon as Gary Russell Jr. comes out, he takes the center of the stage. He's not moving back when Lomachenko throws those punches, and he starts pressing forward. And what does Lomachenko do? He resets. He moves away. Moves back on the line with him, and then Gary Russell Jr. comes forward again. So what does he do? He resets again, right? And again, having an active guard allows him to not take these shots very cleanly, right? But one of the reasons why Lomachenko is doing this is because he doesn't want Gary Russell Jr. to be the one leading, right? He doesn't want to be reacting to what Gary Russell Jr. is doing. He wants Gary Russell Jr. to be reacting to what he's doing. He doesn't want Gary Russell Jr. to make him make mistakes. He wants to be the one making Gary Russell Jr. make mistakes. And that's, again, the whole idea behind using feints and using probes, is to get your opponent out of position and make the wrong move to a feint or a probe so you can hit him with a real shot. So he's circling out to kind of reset Gary Russell Jr. and try and trick him into getting comfortable in counterpunching or going backwards or letting Lomachenko come to him. And what happens as soon as he does that, he gets back on the line and Gary Russell Jr. is like, well, I'm not going to chase this boy around the ring. Come on now. And lets him come to him. Now this is really interesting. So now Vasily Lomachenko using the level changes a little more readily, right? He can throw like a body punch from here. Maybe he could throw like a right hook to the body, right? He could throw a straight right hand. He could throw a jab, or a straight left hand rather. He does that, and then he gives him that dip on the inside. And Gary Russell Jr. is like, man, I saw you do this to me just a second ago. And slips under. And Gary Russell Jr. starting to learn and pick up patterns and respond appropriately, right? Not getting baited by the feints, right? And then reacting well. So picking up on Lomachenko's patterns. And then Lomachenko just kind of controls him and resets. And he's like, okay, I'll remember that. And we'll see what Lomachenko kind of does when he goes from there. Oh, man. Beautiful. So, okay, so first off, this is a 3 fucking punch combination from Gary Russell Jr., you guys. 3 punches. Watch him. Jab. Straight left. Right hook. Boom. Look at how fast this is. This is why feints and probes are so goddamn important. Because he gets clocked by that punch. You need to know how your opponent is going to react to your offense. You need to know how he's going to react when you pressure him. Otherwise, you're going to get caught with punches like that. Now, one of the reasons why he gets caught with this punch is because up until now, when he would get him on the line like this, Gary Russell Jr. would throw only a jab and then move off the line. Right? So what does Lomachenko do? He's like, okay, he's going to jab me and move off the line. So I'm going to slip to the inside, and then that second punch is coming, but I don't think that Lomachenko realizes it, and he goes for the uppercut right here that would have cracked Gary Russell Jr. had he been moving off the line with his jab like he normally does, right? But instead, Gary Russell Jr. changes up the pattern and catches him with the right hook, you know? I'm not sure why Gary Russell Jr. doesn't have any power in it. If you notice, his hips aren't really turning. You know, he's kind of just flashing his hands really quick. But that should have been a great shot. You know, I'm not going to let him punch me in the head with that shit. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, not a lot of power in that shot. You know, taking the power off in favor of speed. But anyway, we'll see if that's something. And now, there are 2 things to think about when you see that too, right? Not only is Lomachenko making adjustments for Gary Russell moving off the line, right? For Gary Russell moving off the line, like look where his head is right now, where he starts the combination, and then where Lomachenko throws the uppercut. Not only is he making adjustments for that, so we got to be mindful of that, even if, that's an interesting thing too, is, so 3 things. Even though it hasn't been relevant in this film study so far, we're going to have to look for whether or not Guillermo Rigondeaux, when we do our film study on him, whether Rigondeaux moves his head off the line when he jabs with his opponents, or if he just steps in and moves back like a traditional boxer rather than circling and moving off the line. Because if he doesn't move off the line, he's going to have a lot of trouble fighting and contesting the lead hand with Vasily Lomachenko. The second thing that we need to learn is that even if he does do that, Lomachenko is showing that he's able to make adjustments and fight in accordance with what his opponent is doing. Thirdly, this is a wrinkle that we need to address when looking at Guillermo Rigondeaux's fighting style. Does he punch in combination when he counters, right? How often does he switch it up? How often does he just throw a 1-2? How often does he throw a third punch, right? Because as you saw in this exchange, as you see in this exchange, he slips the 1 and the 2 at the same time, right? So Guillermo Rigondeaux is going to need that third punch in order to land cleanly against Lomachenko, right? And for those of you that are saying, well, Rigondeaux is going to be much faster than Gary Russell Jr., I don't think so, man. I saw this guy throw a 13-punch combination in 1 second, man. This guy is so goddamn fast. You see that combination, man? 3 punches right there. Boom, boom, boom. Insane. Anyway, moving on. We're going to have to looking for... well, I just said it, man. I can just rewatch this video. I don't have to make myself remember. So, now, interesting, slipping to the inside, goes to slip to the outside, and Gary Russell Jr. counters him, right? He's picking up on his timing. Very smart from Lomachenko after getting hit with that shot. He's like, oh, uses his lead hand to control him, right? Sticks his arm out. Looks like nothing, right? But it's very important in case Gary Russell Jr. were to try and follow that up. And then moves off the line, moves back. Gary Russell Jr. catching him again. Oh, there he is, catching him again. And Lomachenko kind of tightening up his motions now. Changing up the rhythm at which he throws his jab. Ooh, almost getting through. Oh, man. Whoa. Lomachenko getting a little more aggressive. Changes levels. And I think he's hoping to get Gary Russell Jr. to kind of duck down again and change levels with him. But look at this. Gary Russell Jr. just moves off the line beautifully and then catches him with that right hook right there. My video's kind of getting jammed up at the moment. It doesn't look like he lands any punches after that, but look at this right hook right here. Boom. Catches him pretty solid. Gets hit with that shot. Where does he go from here? Gary Russell tries to control him. Throws the left. The right to the body. And then misses the left there. So, I'm not exactly sure what Lomachenko was trying to do in this regard, I'll be honest. You know, Gary Russell Jr. reads it pretty well. We haven't seen Lomachenko do anything like this before, so I'm not sure why he wanted to be bodied up. Maybe he thought Gary Russell Jr. was going to body up with him, and he'd be able to control him with his forearm right there. As you can see, kind of... No, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what Lomachenko was trying to do right there. But very reckless, you know, and that's going to be something... that's something, number one, I didn't see him do anything very, even close to that in his fight against Walters, right? But we'll see, maybe Lomachenko will tighten that little strategy up, and he'll change it up, and we'll see what he really hopes to accomplish against Gary Russell Jr. But again, Gary Russell Jr. is very, very fast. He is a very good fighter, you guys, in spite of the fact that he does kind of get his ass whooped over the course of the 12 rounds of this fight. Okay. Slipping to the inside. Now Gary Russell Jr. again predicting him and throwing a body shot, right? And now Gary Russell Jr. is starting to set traps for him off of his own dips on the inside. Gary Russell Jr. making some really good adjustments. So we'll have to see where Lomachenko goes from here because he's starting to be kind of figured out. Whoops. That's not what I meant to do. There we go. Whoops, I don't know what's going on with my video. Using a traditional kind of jab there. Slip into the inside, move into the outside. Good responsible defense. Feinting, probing. And there you go. Gets him to change levels. And I think that's exactly what he was trying to do before when it didn't work. And now he gets him to do it. And then he comes down as he's changing levels back and lands a body shot. Very smart, very clever from Lomachenko, catching him with the body shot when he's on his level change. Ooh. Now again, this is exactly what he wants to be doing right here. So it comes in with a feint, gets Gary Russell to bring his hand out to catch the jab, but it wasn't a jab. It was a probe, right? Let's go back. So, probing jab, steps forward. Gary Russell Jr. is feinted and baited out of position. This is exactly what you want to be doing with your probes. then goes to the body, a probe, and gets Gary Russell to bring his hands down, then goes up, gets him to tighten his guard and bring his hands both up, then throws another jab while he's occupying his guard, another feint, and Gary Russell thinks it's going to be a left hand to the head, but he brought his hands, both of them up, and goes to the body instead. Beautiful work from Vasily Lomachenko. I think he probably should have thrown the punch a little sooner, but what the fuck? I'm no Vasily Lomachenko. I don't know what the fuck he's thinking, you know? But beautiful boxing, how he gets him to bring his guard up. Look at this, and then lands a great body shot. He does get countered. Boom, to the head right here. And that's not really what you want to be seeing. I think that his defense has tightened up a lot since fighting Gary Russell Jr. This was only his third fight. And he does use a lot more of his forearms and after he lands shots to kind of control his opponents and then pivot on them and take angles. I haven't seen him fight any other southpaws, so it's not readily available to be like, oh, I know for a fact, he's going to do this stuff, because maybe he doesn't do it against an orthodox fighter. Maybe he only does it against, or maybe he doesn't do it against southpaws. Maybe he only does it against orthodox fighters. Maybe that's where he's most comfortable. Who knows how it's actually going to play out? Because if I can't show you here, we can't just say, oh, that's it, he's going to do it. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, and again, look at how goddamn fast Gary Russell Jr. is. Super fast, man. Oh, Gary Russell Jr. showing that he's smart. Feints him, gets him out of position, and then he's like, oh, not this again. And he goes to actually try to catch him with the jab while he's feinting and probing. Gary Russell Jr. is not a bad fighter, you guys. He's a very good fighter, in spite of the fact that he lost to Vasily Lomachenko. He just doesn't have those really high-level skills of feinting and probing and using his lead hand to control his opponents. He uses as fucking, pardon my language, as Paulie Malignaggi says numerous times throughout this fight. I bet if I turn the sound on right now, you'd hear Paulie Malignaggi, Gary Russell Jr., he only throws one jab. That's a problem with him. He only has one jab, And as soon as Vasily Lomachenko gets the timing of it, and he says that so many times, and that's exactly kind of what happens. And what he means by one speed on his jab, he only has one speed on his jab. He doesn't feint. He doesn't probe with it. He doesn't just stick it out there to control his opponent. He always throws it as a punch. And that really inhibits his ability to control Lomachenko. And that's why also Lomachenko is able to control him right here and get him to do exactly what he wants, right? Feint, get him to bring his guard up, and then throw a body shot, is because he's not throwing those as real punches. If he had committed to that jab as a real punch, he might have gotten countered sooner. As you can see right here, and not landed the punch because Gary Russell Jr. may have blocked it. He may have caught that jab, right? He may have caught that jab right there. But because he didn't commit to the punch early, he's able to land that body shot. Even though he gets countered after, but that's neither here nor there. It's the fact that he's able to get his opponent, a very quick and strong opponent, out of position with these shots. Beautiful. Slipping to the outside, to the inside, and then moving off the line. And Gary Russell Jr. actually looking like he's starting to throw some kind of probing shots. But look at how much more active Gary Russell Jr. is being with his lead hand all of a sudden, because he can't keep Vasily Lomachenko off of him. He realizes after that stint in the corner right there that he's gonna need to control Lomachenko if he has a hope to win, right? Because he can't deal with the feints, he can't deal with the probes, and he doesn't know how, so he's gonna start just punching and using his hands and using whatever tools he has. But right there, very clever from Lomachenko, changing levels, and then rather than dipping down like he did before, right? Remember? Change level and then dip to the inside. Gary Russell Jr. probably reads it like he was going to dip to the inside, but changing the rhythm up on him and then catching him with the jab right there, changing the rhythms and the patterns on him. Just beautiful boxing. And then what does he do after? Even more beautiful. And this kind of, I think, kind of confirms what I was thinking earlier when Lomachenko had that really reckless jump in and got caught with that right hook. I think he's looking to body up with him right here, like he did earlier. He did it in a much different way in that last sequence, but he bodies up with him and controls him, and then throws that left hook right there. And it's not like a super clean punch, it's kind of a slapping shot, as you can see, it hits with the inside of the hand, but that's not important, right? The fact is he's He's able to land that jab right there, body up with him, and then land a shot. And I think that is going to be something also that's very effective against Rigondeaux. But Rigondeaux has great understanding of positions. I don't know if anybody in all of boxing has as much knowledge about that as he does. If you watch him fight and move, the way that he moves and circumvents his opponents, like angles, even when the guy's like taking lead foot dominance against Rigondeaux, especially like in the Nonito Donaire fight, it's just masterful, man. It's really a sight to be seen. But anyway, back to the round. We're 20 goddamn minutes in. And you guys keep stopping me, okay? Stop asking me questions, okay? Just let me get through this, please. I'm just kidding. But anyway, again, looking for more ways to take away Gary Russell's jab, right? So as we saw, like back here, right? Gary Russell Jr. is starting to use his jab more. And look at how he controls the space against Lomachenko right there, right? And they're not even hard jabs, right? But it doesn't allow Lomachenko to work. It doesn't allow Lomachenko to see what Gary Russell is doing. So how can he make the appropriate adjustment, right? How does he know if he can throw the right hand or the left hand? How does he know if he can throw the body shot? He doesn't know where Gary Russell Jr. is when his glove is in his face like that, right? But how simple that is of him to be able to take away those movements and keep Lomachenko on the outside, right? Does a pretty decent job right there, but then kind of gets, out-thought, right? Outboxed in a sense in that moment, in that he thinks pattern A is coming, but Lomachenko has changed it to pattern C. And what does Lomachenko do immediately? He goes back to trying to take away Gary Russell's jab. Beautiful boxing, you guys. Beautiful. Ooh. So Lomachenko comes in again, ducks down, changes levels, gives him a probing jab, slips what he thinks is going to be a punch from Gary Russell, but Gary Russell's really just like, okay, come on, break. I need a break, man. Give me a second to think. And goes for a body shot, and I really like that from Gary Russell Jr. I wonder if Rigondeaux uses a body shot like that too. We'll have to look at it and see how often he throws the right hook, let alone a right hook to the body, because I think that's really effective against Lomachenko so far, as it completely nullifies what Lomachenko is trying to do here, especially because of the fact that Lomachenko likes to dip to the inside so much. I think it's a really effective strategy from Gary Russell Jr. Oh, shit! Great pull counter from Gary Russell. Ooh. So what does Lomachenko do here? He doesn't really set the punch up, right? He gives him like a little bit of a feint, right, with that step, right? And then shoots the jab. Gary Russell Jr. reads it really well. And I wish I was paying more attention to like tells and stuff. In this film study wasn't just about like skills, what skills in particular that they're using. And maybe I could figure out if there was a reason why he knew that he was going to be able to land that pull counter. But beautiful job from Gary Russell Jr. You really got to hand it to him. He's not a bad fighter, you guys. He is a really good fighter. He just has, I don't want to say, like limited skills, like an understanding of how to set his punches up is just limited. Not that he has, like, he has great tools. He's a great fighter. He picks up on rhythms and patterns, but he doesn't know how to do all that stuff by himself. It's opponent dependent. So anyway, back to the film study. Changing levels again. Gets Gary Russell Jr. to close his guard. And I can't remember what Lomachenko has done off of changing levels. Aside from shooting the jab, he shot the jab once. So maybe Gary Russell Jr. is picking up on that. He's like, oh, it must be a jab right now. And he closes his guard. And Lomachenko throws a couple punches, and these are not hard punches. He's just testing him, trying to make him kind of get out of position, it looks like. Feint to the inside. Gary Russell knows that the jab might be coming right there, and then he shoots the jab under his own jab. Just beautiful boxing right there. Changing levels, again, feinting him. Oh, man, I love it. Double feint. Gary Russell gets baited out of position again, but he knows once he gets baited out of position, he has to do something. It's very similar to the instance in the first round where they both fall onto the line with each other, and then they both duck at the same time because they both know a punch comes. Now Gary Russell Jr. is starting to realize that after he gets baited out of position, he has to do something else. He has to try a new tactic. He has to move. He has to punch. He has to do something because he doesn't want to just allow Vasily Lomachenko to take advantage of how he got him out of position. So Gary Russell Jr. making adjustments, just not the right ones. I mean, they're right in theory. Ooh. Not really landing anything. But lots of feints, lots of probes. And I love how he does this and he changes position at the same time. He does kind of eat that right hook, though, and then lands a good body shot. I wonder, Lomachenko kind of looking like, I don't want to say easy to hit, because as we saw in the Walters fight, Walters couldn't put a fucking glove on this kid. Not even like, he landed like 5 punches in the whole fight, So I wonder, what it is that Gary Russell Jr. is very fast, right? But he's shown ways to nullify that speed by using the feints and the probes. I wonder if this is just him being like a young fighter, like less experienced and showing that he's easy to hit, or if it's just less craft-oriented because he's fighting a fellow southpaw. But anyway. Beautiful. Slipping. And look at how fast Gary Russell Jr. is. Look at how fast that 1-2 comes out. Just so goddamn quick. Great probing. Probe. Gary Russell Jr. has no idea what's coming. Shot to the glove or shoots a punch to his arm. Controls his arm again. And I wonder why Vasily Lomachenko is punching at Gary Russell Jr.'s left hand, right? Because as you see, he could have landed a jab here, right? He could have landed a jab here, but he's pushing Gary Russell Jr.'s arm out of the way, but it doesn't look like it even creates nearly enough space for him to land that uppercut. I wonder why he's doing it. Oh, maybe he's... Yeah, it might just be for that last punch that he was trying to get through. And also, controlling Gary Russell's left hand so he can't counter him with the straight left. But interesting tactic. We'll see where he goes with that. But again, so unpredictable. Slipping to the inside. Gary Russell Jr. has to think, oh, body shot? Is he going to come up with the jab? Was he feinting me for a right hand? Comes down, controls him. Gary Russell Jr. reads it really well. But then eats a body shot? Yeah, it's kind of on the belt line, but it looks clean. But just so much from... Ooh, clean shot. And again, all of that punch right there is set up from all these level changes, that dip in the inside, and then finally pays its dividend by landing a right hand or a left hand over the top. It's actually not the cleanest shot, kind of lands on the cheekbone and not with the scoring part of the glove, but just beautiful work from him right there. And then moves off the line. Now this is something that's really interesting. He rolls the shot and then moves off the line. I think that he's starting to pick up on the fact that Gary Russell Jr. is using the right hook a lot. Gary Russell Jr. has landed the right hook a lot, so he's starting to slip in and get away from that shot. It's about time, Lomachenko. Anyway. Slipping. Eats a jab of his own. And I love this. Every time Gary Russell Jr. makes an action, he takes a step back and then controls him with his jab. And that doesn't look like it's the greatest, of whatever he's doing, right? Controlling him with the jab. But if it stops Gary Russell Jr. from thinking, oh, the next time I make that feint, he's going to be open for this, right? I mean, it might make him think he's open for something else, right? But maybe not a straight left hand, right? If he were to come up with a straight left hand right here, maybe Lomachenko's arm would be completely in the way, and he would block it anyway, right? But anyway, it's very important that he does that. Again, great feints, dipping down, and then shooting the jab, closing the distance. And I do think that at the end of this round so far, they're fighting at a much closer distance than they were at the beginning. And again, Gary Russell Jr. doesn't have a lot of head movement, right? So even though he shoots this from a level change all the way back here, he's able to tag Gary Russell Jr. because Gary Russell Jr.'s head is never moving. Boom, right? And that, again, the benefits of having an active guard, he's able to hide these little punches right here off of his already like crazy movements. You know, just brilliant boxing. Ooh. Now instead of shooting a jab, shooting the straight left. Ooh, just missing. And again, right through the guard. Like, beautiful, beautiful setup of it. Whoops, I missed the whole frame. And Gary Russell Jr. has almost no idea that it's coming. He barely gets his gloves in the way in time, but the punch misses anyway. And I think he tries to counter him, but nothing really happens in there. But again, just beautiful boxing. Counter over the top. And I wonder, again, if there are any tells, you know, in Gary Russell Jr.'s thing, because it doesn't look like there's one here, but this is one of the reasons why it's important to feint and to probe against your opponent. Otherwise, you're just going to eat counter shots like this all the time. And that's why I think it's so important for Vasily Lomachenko to use his feints and to use his probes and to use his lead hand actively, because look how easy it is for Lomachenko to slip that shot and then land two jabs of his own, right? And that's because of the fact that he doesn't use his probe, he doesn't use his lead hand, he's not controlling Lomachenko, and he's able to land that jab in spite of the fact that Gary Russell Jr. is the one initiating. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I don't think that Lomachenko is as good of a counterpuncher as Guillermo Rigondeaux, but he's just as effective in this regard because of the fact that he's able to see these punches coming, right? And that's why it's so important to have not only like an active guard, right? Because as you can see in this round, Gary Russell Jr. has been resigned to counterpunching, right? And he's not been a very effective counterpuncher. He's landed a couple good shots, gotta give him that, right? A couple good right hooks, and I don't know if he's landed any left hands, but not very many good jabs either. Excuse me. But he hasn't been very effective with his counterpunching. Sorry, give me a second. I got a text. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding, guys. Because or his leading or any of the things that he's doing, but because of the fact that he's exploding out of his guard, right? The reason why he's not having any oh goodness, I'm blanking on the word. His counterpunching is not effective is because of the fact that when Vasily Lomachenko punches, he's using the probes. And you can see how easy it is for Vasily Lomachenko to slip and to move out of the way of those punches. But as you can see in this instance, because of the fact that Gary Russell Jr. is not using them, it's very easy for Lomachenko to counter him. And that's the only point that I'm trying to make right there, as well as having like a stale guard, right? And that is something that I wonder about Guillermo Rigondeaux. You know, he doesn't have the most active guard. He does have like kind of an active like rounding lead hand, but it's not like he's constantly putting pressure on his opponents, tapping them with his lead hand, right? And controlling them with the lead hand, but also his head is usually in the same line, you know, and we'll see more about that when we actually do film study on him, probably next week, I think. And again, Gary Russell Jr., when the punches are coming, right, he doesn't know if it's a feint, he doesn't know if it's a probe, and even when it does wind up, being just a punch, right, because Gary Russell Jr. doesn't normally have any head movement anyway, they just land. You know, he just lands those punches. And even though that's probably like a grazing shot, that's not the point. The point is just to say that that's something we're going to have to look for, is whether or not Lomachenko or Rigondeaux has any head movement. As you can see, it's not very hard for Lomachenko to disguise his punches and to really surprise his opponents because of how unorthodox, I'll say, quote unquote unorthodox he is with his head movement, with his active guard, with all that stuff. And I think that, if Lomachenko or if Rigondeaux doesn't show that he has a really active guard as well, he's going to be subject to a lot of the same punishment. Ooh, so I'm not sure if this is just a mistake on Gary Russell Jr.'s part or if Lomachenko's making him make it, but he feints him right here. Whoops. Man, this video is giving me fits right now. Feints him. Gary Russell Jr. commits to a jab. Lomachenko commits to a probe, right? And then for some reason, Gary Russell Jr. just stays down there. Not really making a mistake, and kind of taking that straight left hand on top of the head. And I wonder what Gary Russell Jr. thought was going to be coming after that. Did he think that Lomachenko was going to give him a level change? Did he think it was going to be a slip to the inside? What did he think it was going to be that caused him to just eat such a simple punch? Maybe he did think he was just going to slide on the inside. I'm not exactly sure, because that actually wasn't super in line with the way that he does anything else. But this is fucking... We got to go back. This is fucking brilliant, you guys. This is something that I really like. And I think that this might actually be something that's really effective against Guillermo Rigondeaux. So he comes in, slips to the inside, and look at how he's gotten Gary Russell Jr. to bring his guard up, right? So like I said earlier, Gary Russell Jr. doesn't know if it's going to be a left hand, right? A left hand over the top. He doesn't know whether it's going to be a jab through the guard or an uppercut or a body shot. So what does Lomachenko do? He comes in and he pins his fucking arms to his head right there. Fucking beautiful. And throws a body shot. And Gary Russell Jr. can't do anything. He has no idea what's happening. Beautiful boxing, beautiful technique from Lomachenko. And this might be why he was being so reckless earlier in the round, is because he's trying to get up close with Gary Russell Jr. and kind of start to work on the inside and fight him on the inside. But a beautiful technique, and I do think that Rigondeaux uses a high guard, not in the exact same fashion that Gary Russell Jr. does. Usually, Rigondeaux moves off of the line very well. He pivots and turns and moves very well. So I don't know that he's going to have the same problem as Gary Russell Jr. is having at the moment. But just a beautiful technique. So we'll have to see when we do film study against him. Oh, God, again, beautiful. Feinting him, gets him to... So this is exactly what you're doing with your feints and your probes, right? Feints him, gets him to think that it's going to jab, it's going to be a jab, and once his glove is out there, he's free to throw an actual jab, and then pins his glove again and throws another body shot. Just beautiful boxing. And this is exactly what you're trying to do with your probes. Like I said, I probably just said that like 3 times in a row. I'm a little bit high right now. Give me a break. But just beautiful boxing from Lomachenko. And as Max Kellerman says, Gary Russell Jr. is a special fighter. He's very, very, very fast, very talented, but just completely getting outclassed here. Feints him again, gets him to commit to the jab, and then Gary Russell Jr. is like, oh, fuck, it's coming. And he misses the shot again. I wonder if... but Lomachenko is getting closer with that little uppercut right there, that little... whatever you want to call it. He's getting much closer every round, and I wonder if he'll start to land it in the 3rd round. It'll be really interesting. But yeah, a really interesting round, showing... Man, I don't remember what he was showing, dude. To be honest, I'm like a little bit... I'm probably like too high that I shouldn't have been doing this video right now. But I was pretty excited to watch it. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments section. All right, bye, guys.